G'day everybody, Max Wright here, and very excited to be hosting episode number 1 of BitShares.tv. And this is a project I've been thinking about for a little while, and I'm really excited to get it off the ground. And one of the reasons I'm so excited about BitShares, and there's lots of reasons, is that I think it has a massive potential to really grow the whole crypto economy, especially Bitcoin. And we'll be touching on some of those premises later on in this presentation. But just to give you some idea early on, what Bitcoin is to currency, BitShares is to business. And so I think what you'll see is that BitShares will be at the center of this huge disruption, the blockchain disruption into lots of other industries. And I think probably one of the first places that it's really going to help out is in the periphery businesses of Bitcoin. So in the Bitcoin world, we've got great companies like BitPay and Coinbase and Coinapult. There's lots of different periphery businesses that make Bitcoin so much more useful than without those businesses. And what BitShares can do is it can actually bring blockchain technology to those businesses. So those businesses sit on the blockchain technology as well. They become decentralized. They become resilient. And I think it's going to really make the entire Bitcoin economy much more resilient to any kind of attacks that it may get in the future. And it's also, I think, as we'll find out later on in this call, it's going to really help. Bitcoin's got tremendous promise to bring, the 3 or 4 billion people who are unbanked in the world and bring them into 21st century economics and financial systems. BitShares, by decentralizing those periphery businesses and having them rely less on the legacy systems like banks, etc., what we're going to do is we're going to allow more of the unbanked people to come into the Bitcoin fold. So I'm really excited about this entire program. Later on in the show, we're going to meet Dan Larimer. He's one of the lead developers on BitShares and the visionary behind it. And but I think because it's the first show, I feel like I should just mention a little bit about myself so that you know where I came from. I actually was first exposed to Bitcoin in October of 2012. A friend of mine, Trace Mayer, many of you will know him, Bitcoin celebrity, seed investor in a number of key Bitcoin infrastructure. He actually introduced me to Bitcoin it was actually at an event called Libertopia, which is it's a West Coast equivalent of Porkfest, if you've ever heard of that. And I'm a libertarian, just in case you didn't know that. But I actually came from, I ran a site and still do run a site called Success Council. And it was very much based on gold and silver and money and economics and all those kinds of things. And very arrogantly so, the only reason I decided to find out anything about Bitcoin was to explain to Trace why Bitcoin was a silly idea and his magic internet money was never going to work. And after about a month of intense research, I couldn't fault it. I thought it was brilliant. It answered all of my questions, and I became convinced at that stage, way back in October, November of 2012, that blockchain technology is the most significant technological advance since the internet itself. I still hold that belief today. Ever since that day, I've been drinking the Bitcoin Kool-Aid, and I drink it today, and it's pouring down both cheeks, because all day, every day, I just get involved in Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and it's been a very exciting ride. So immediately after I found out just how powerful Bitcoin and blockchain technology was, I created a video series for my paid customers. And in December of 2013, when the Bitcoin price was at, I think, $11, I released my video series to my gold and silver customers. And that introduced thousands of people into Bitcoin, and obviously have a very loyal following after introducing them to Bitcoin way back at $10. And so after about 6 months, I then went ahead and released all of that paid content that was to my paid subscribers. I actually released it on Amazon in the form of a Kindle ebook. And I gave that to the rest of the world. I think at the time it was mid-2013. Bitcoin was about $100. And for the rest of 2013, I gave that book away. It was like at 99 cents or $2 or something. And I gave that book away. And for the rest of 2013, that was one of the top-rated books on Bitcoin in the Amazon Kindle store. So I got a lot of people in early on in 2013, 2012. And the reason I kind of go through that story is that I think exactly the same thing has happened. I obviously built a very loyal following way back then, introducing people to Bitcoin at the price of just $10, and I could have taken advantage of that, of course. There's been lots of altcoins come out, lots of pump and dumps, lots of things, and I had an opportunity to make a lot of money, and I didn't do that. I resisted that temptation, and I've never, ever, ever promoted anything other than Bitcoin up until what we're talking about today, which is BitShares. And like I said, the reason I'm so passionate about it is that what Bitcoin is to currency, BitShares is to pretty much everything else with regards to businesses, and it's going to be an incredibly positive, disruptive force for all of the other industries around the world. And I've let me think. I think it was So in June, I think it was, actually help me out here, I think it was in July, I beg your pardon, of 2014, BitShares was released to the world. I immediately, quickly, the following month in August, I ran an important webinar for all my paid subscribers. I was like, Bitcoin's important, get involved. I believe the BitShares price at the time was just 0.8 of 1 penny. And I think within 2 weeks, it had shot up to about 3 cents per share. Since come down a bit, exactly the same as the Bitcoin boom-bust cycles. We'll see the same thing with BitShares as well, I'm quite certain. And so right now, we see that BitShares is looking at around about 1.6 cents per share. And I think in the next week or so, I'm going to be following that cycle. I'm going to be releasing all of the paid content that I gave to my subscribers. I'm going to be releasing that in a book called BitShares 101. That'll be in the Amazon Kindle store. When you watch this video, you may find a link to that book just below here. If that book has been released at that time, I should do it in a week or so. So that's kind of my backstory, and I thought that was relevant given I would be the host of BitShares.tv. And I guess now I would love to introduce you to Dan Larimer. Dan, say good day.
Hello.
And as I said, Dan is the original visionary of BitShares, and he's been working. He was back in the forums actually chatting with Satoshi back in the Bitcoin days, and he was, part of that original core group of people throwing ideas around, creating and inventing the Bitcoin protocol that we all know and love today. And so that's just kind of cool in and of itself. You don't see too many people who actually chatted to Satoshi. And so, Dan, why don't you go ahead and share with us some of the concepts and some of the ideas that you have around BitShares and what you hope to achieve with it.
Well, BitShares is just one project out of many that I've been working on over my life as I try to promote free market solutions to secure life, liberty, and property. And I recognized early on that money was a critical thing that we needed to regain control of if we wanted to find freedom for ourselves. So that's actually how I got into Bitcoin. I was trying to invent Bitcoin in the early days, and I Googled digital money, and up came Bitcoin. It took a couple years before BitShares actually came about. Shortly after Mt. Gox had their funds seized by the U.S. government, I recognized a critical weakness in the infrastructure around Bitcoin, and that was the exchanges. The exchanges could be perfectly trustworthy, but have their reserves stolen from them by various governments. And if no one can run an exchange, then Bitcoin cannot be fully decentralized. So I set about solving that problem, and the result of that is BitShares, as well as a lot of new thoughts about the very nature of blockchain technology, viewing them as companies with the economics of a company rather than a currency. And that has opened up all kinds of avenues where BitShares can be viewed very similar to a bank, an exchange where all of the deposits are fully collateralized by 3x or more. And that is revolutionary because we can actually have a decentralized exchange. And that was a major achievement in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, the whole BitShares ecosystem, which I'm learning about every single day, it really lends itself to Bitcoin is the core of it, and from there we can grow out with BitShares technology and just gobble up other industries with this disruptive technology and making them more decentralized. So I get that, like Satoshi and like the original thoughts of Bitcoin, it's about decentralization, it's about free markets, it's about eliminating the use of violence and coercion in our lives. We don't have to rely on men with guns to enforce contracts. We've got the blockchain to enforce contracts. We don't have to rely on trusted third parties to hold securities, to manage order books. All of those things can be run on the blockchain. And the ramifications of that start to become very profound very quickly. Can you maybe just take us a few steps further down this rabbit hole and just talk about some of the potentiality of BitShares and where you see it going?
All right, well, as I said, BitShares was just the start. It was to create a financial system on a greater platform to produce a society of completely voluntary organization. We need free market solutions to secure our life, liberty, and property against all aggressors, private and public. And that is where blockchain technology can take us, because there are two ways to reach consensus. There's at a point of a gun with the government, and then there's voluntarily with blockchain technology. So for the first time in history with the internet and with blockchains, we have the ability to remove the need for violence and centralized consensus forming over who owns what. And if you think about what governments do, that's their primary function, is to determine which property belongs to which person and to steal from some and reallocate it to others. And blockchains allow us to do all the functions that government should be doing, tracking property, titles, enforcing contracts, in a completely non-violent, voluntary manner.
Not to mention efficient. Think of all the bureaucracies and the huge buildings dedicated to governments and the bureaucrats inside them, the police force, the enforcement agency, law and order, court, judges, lawyers, all of it can be replaced with blockchain technology. Very, very exciting stuff. So Dan, one of the main promises here for BitShares is this concept of it's a trading platform. And the first implementation of what you've created is actually a trading platform, a completely decentralized one built on blockchain technology. You said that it was invented, you created, had the idea. Now, and by the way, I should mention that there's a much, much bigger community behind you now. It's not just you, but you did have the original idea back in the day about how to actually create this. And so why don't you talk a little bit about what you have created, how it can be used today, and what sort of level of development you're at with regards to decentralizing those periphery businesses around Bitcoin, like exchanges and things like that.
After witnessing Mt. Gox, one of the things that I realized is Mt. Gox, an exchange, needs the ability to store the value of a dollar in a way that is secure. The people who are exchanging on the exchange need to be in control of their money at all times without having to trust a third party. So with BitShares, we created what I call bitusd. And bitusd can be thought of in terms of a familiar concept in the finance world, a contract for difference. This is where two parties get together, they both put money in, and if the price goes up, one party or the other makes or loses money, depending on which way the price moves. At the end of the day, all you have are BitShares, but the number of BitShares you have changes based upon whether the value of BitShares goes up or down relative to the dollar. And each party takes different risks. Those who are betting on the value of BitShares going up, they get leverage. Those who are worried about it going down and they want the price stability of the dollar, they get price stability. And that is how we create bitusd.
Cool. And this is really transformative. So let's just slow down and understand that a little bit better. What we're talking about is two parties coming together and just forming a voluntary contract. And let's just establish what those two parties are doing. One person is saying, hey, I'm really excited by BitShares. I want to invest in BitShares. I want to buy BitShares in the same way people buy Bitcoin. Just you're buying a digital token that's on blockchain. Someone wants to buy that, and they want to borrow money from somebody else. So in this instance, they're saying, hey, somebody lend me $1, and I will use that dollar to buy some BitShares. Now, in order for the privilege of borrowing from you, I'm going to pay you an interest rate, and to make sure that you know absolutely 100% that you can get your dollar's worth of value back, I'm going to put the dollar's worth of BitShares that I bought with the dollar that you lent me on the blockchain. Plus, I'm going to add $2 more worth of BitShares on the blockchain. So you're going to have 300% collateral backing up my IOU to you, which is to pay you back $1 worth of value in the future. If the value of BitShares runs around, there's things like margin calls and things going on. So the user is protected. Here's the outcome of this process. What happens is the person who lent the person has what's called a note. They have a promise. This is a promise for $1 of value at the future time. And it's secured on the blockchain with cryptocurrency. So the cryptocurrency is the securitization and the settlement instrument. And the blockchain is like the trusted third party that enforces the contracts. And so what we've done is completely decentralized a $700 trillion market called the derivatives market that's in existence right now with contracts just like this. But what happens is those environments and those exchanges around the world, huge buildings erected for them. There's auditors involved, there's bureaucrats involved, there's trading floors involved, huge expenses to take care of this, and you still have to rely on a trusted third party. Despite all the bureaucrats and despite all the auditors, corruption is still rife. There's still plenty of insider trading. There's still kinds of shenanigans going on. What BitShares does is allows completely open and transparent trading floor for derivative products, is another way to say what this is. And it does so with incredible efficiencies because it's all done on Bitcoin. That's what it is at its core. But the outcome, and this is the most exciting part of all, even if there was nothing else, mind you, we should just stop there. Even if there was nothing else, what BitShares is an opportunity to be a disruptive technology in the $700 trillion derivatives market, moving the whole thing to blockchain technology. But that's, as I was saying, that's not even the really cool part. The really cool part about this is at the end of that day, that promise for $1 worth of value securitized by 300% of a cryptocurrency, that note now becomes a cryptocurrency in and of itself. And it can be traded around just like all cryptocurrencies. If you have the private key to that promissory note of $1 worth of value, you can send that to somebody else. And now they're entitled to $1 worth of value backed up by 300% of collateral. And so you now have an instrument, a financial instrument, which is $1 worth of value securitized by 300% security on the blockchain in cryptocurrency. And people can move that around. They have possession of that, and only their private keys can move it around. This is like unbelievably important for the world of crypto. And something that will come from that is now people, which I guess is a think about what you're going to say, is that those like exchanges, like what Mt. Gox was and what Bitfinex and those kinds of things are, is they can now have BitUSD or dollar representations in cryptocurrency that the customers still have the private keys for.
Yeah, I think I just add one thing to it, is that unlike most contract for difference or derivative products, the positions are divisible and fungible. So it's not like you have a banknote and you've got to trade in units of however much your contract is. It is fully fungible, fully divisible. And it can be you can do it for any asset. We use dollars as an example, but you can also use gold and silver and Bitcoin. All these things mean that for the first time in history, we have a 300% reserve gold and silver bank, if you will, that you can transfer gold and silver around the world. This is the first step toward a free monetary system where gold and silver, rather than a fiat currency, can be used as a physical representation, and BitGold and BitSilver can be used as the digital, convenient, easy to transport, easy to secure option.
As we mentioned, so in the traditional markets, these kinds of derivatives are a huge business. Like I said, derivatives in total, $700 trillion industry. And I think a lot of people do have some misgivings about the derivatives market. And there is an element to that because they are very much under-collateralized. And in the traditional or the legacy systems, what happens there is with $1, you can sell $1,000 worth of gold, sometimes up to $1,000, but $100 worth of gold for sure. It has tremendous leverage in there. And gold actually is very rarely even to be seen on these markets. People will deposit $1,000 of security. They'll then go and sell $100,000 worth of gold, and they can buy and sell and use those derivative products, but they're kind of under-collateralized. On the BitShares network, not only are they 100% collateralized, they're actually 300% collateralized. All of these financial products are 300% collateralized, which obviously I think is a good thing. But also it's important because BitShares is new to the game. It has to prove itself. It needs to give people a lot of security and comfort. And what's important to note is that you've gone back and done some analysis, and through Bitcoin's entire history, even when it was really, really volatile way back at the beginning, it was always, it's never had volatility so much that the 300% collateral would have been insufficient in the BitShares market. So that kind of thing does give people a lot of comfort, I would imagine, in their thing. So like I said, huge potential here. Now, we've taken the conversation as far as here's what there's a class of instruments called bit assets. We've talked about one at the moment, which is BitUSD. You've mentioned there are some others. But now let's go to the next step, which is solving the problems of the centralization of exchanges and so forth. give us an example of how the exchanges and the users can use the products like BitUSD and decentralize the process of trading in and out of Bitcoin to a stable currency.
The role of the exchanges turns into more of a gateway, an on and off ramp, where they provide an escrow service between users who are getting into and out of the system. You don't need to leave your money on the exchange to have convenient access for trading. You only have to go through a third party, which these exchanges are, when you actually want to convert to real fiat, when you want to sell out. One of the biggest challenges in Bitcoin and in all cryptocurrencies is if you want to hedge your position. If you want to hedge your position, you've got to exit into fiat on a trusted exchange. And every conversion to and from fiat requires a lot of overhead. Know your customer information, withdrawal limits, all these things. And that's where things are very expensive. Every merchant, as soon as they receive the Bitcoin, has to sell it immediately because the volatility could harm it. We want to keep people within the ecosystem, because when you can stay within the crypto ecosystem, when merchants can accept BitUSD, pay their employees in BitUSD, and potentially pay their vendors in BitUSD, earn interest on their savings in BitUSD, then you can create a self-sustaining economy. It doesn't have to keep bridging back to the current banking system controlled by the current banking elite. So that gives us freedom, which is the real goal of everything that we're trying to do with BitShares, is to provide freedom, the ability to stay within the system and not have to exit the crypto universe whenever you're worried that Bitcoin is in a bubble.
Right. So let's go back and let's confirm all that. And I'll do this because I'm an idiot more than anything else. I want to make sure I understand it correctly. The purpose of the exchanges, they have two primary functions, as I see. One is the on-off ramps. It's the bridge between legacy system, fiat currencies, and the crypto world. Their second function is they have an order book where people can, there are traders in there. There's newbies, let's say, converting fiat to crypto. But then there's also traders in there who are trading in and out of currencies, playing the markets. And also, let's not forget, for the purposes of businesses, great companies like BitPay and all these awesome companies, what they can do is they can eliminate volatility for businesses, making it the barrier to entry for businesses accepting cryptocurrency much lower. So we love them, we love what they're doing, but what they need to do to support that industry is they need to sell the Bitcoin as soon as it's received and turn it into fiat. And again, you're interacting with the old legacy system. You've got all those expenses, all the costs, all the invasion of privacy that we know to do with that. What this allows is for exchanges and for companies like BitPay, what they can do is they can exit Bitcoin but stay within the crypto world, because they can now exit Bitcoin, stay with BitUSD, keep the funds owned by their private keys. They can't be goxed, it can't be stolen. It's a lot easier for provable solvency and all those things like that. And very quickly and efficiently, they can get back into Bitcoin. And all the traders were going in and out of Bitcoin and BitUSD and never had to go through the legacy system. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, you understand it perfectly correctly. The other thing I point out is every time you have to convert between Bitcoin and USD, you pay the spread. And with Bitcoin, it's you got a percent spread, and it varies over time. So if a consumer has to pay the spread when they buy the Bitcoin, and the merchant has to pay the spread when the consumer buys something with it, every time you're doing this conversion, there's this friction, this loss in the system, and that makes it retards user adoption, because there's all these fees. They're hidden fees. A lot of the exchanges, the BitPay, the Coinbase, they hide this spread from the users. But at the end of the day, the user is paying a higher price when they pay with Bitcoin because these spreads exist.
Right. So how does BitShares solve that problem?
So BitShares allows people to use bit assets, gold, silver, dollars, yuan, to trade in directly. So the users don't actually have to go into the market and buy and sell every time they do a transaction. It also significantly simplifies things for tax purposes. Every single time you receive Bitcoin or you pay someone Bitcoin, you have to calculate a capital gain, capital loss. It varies based on what country you're in. But if you can transact in a cryptocurrency that is always worth $1 or always worth an ounce of gold, now you have much easier accounting, much easier taxes, and much lower fees.
So that's going to help us decentralize. Like I said, this is just the beginning steps, decentralizing those periphery businesses, the all-important infrastructure that sits on top of Bitcoin. Now let's go to the part of the conversation which is really, really dear to my heart, which is Bitcoin has tremendous promise for helping the unbanked in the world. Those people in the developing world, those people who are locked out of the banking system for various different reasons. There's 3 to 4 billion people of them. Now, when you're earning $100 a month or $200 a month, wild fluctuations in your pay just doesn't cut it. It's a huge inhibitor to the developing world. And as great as companies like BitPay are and Coinbase, what we call Bitcoin merchant processors, they take away the volatility for the people. In the Western world, they do a great job of it because they can interact with the banking system. But for the unbanked, they're literally cut out of this area. And also, look at a little bit dark here, also for the dark markets. In the first world dark markets, they're also cut out from using BitPay and eliminating the price volatility of Bitcoin in a decentralized way. And this BitShares products actually allows that. And so what we have here is, I think it's a tremendous tool for helping the third world, for helping Bitcoin realize its potential in the developing world and allowing those people to really step up into the crypto economy. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a huge market, especially when you consider remittances. These people and communities, they need a secure bank, and a lot of banks won't serve them. And we can basically do the same thing on a blockchain. And that gives all kinds of benefits. It's a safe haven. It's a way that you can transfer money without having to worry about a 5% drop in the value of Bitcoin over the course of the day or so it takes you to execute the transaction. We significantly solve one of the biggest challenges of the exchanges is how do you pair bid, ask, and location. If you're trying to have a local exchange of Bitcoin for dollars, like local Bitcoins, you're going to pay a much higher fee, a much higher spread, because the number of buyers and sellers in your area is going to be a lot less than the buyers and sellers on the large exchanges. And the people in the third world, they don't have access, they don't have the ability to get into the large exchanges because they don't have a bank account. So they can't wire money from an exchange like Bitstamp back to their home account. They've got to go find people in the local community to buy and sell their Bitcoin for, which means the spreads that they pay on their remittances are much larger than they need to be. And so with BitShares, it allows these people to, if they've got access to the internet and a computer, they can have banking. Yeah,
very, very exciting. Like I say, BitShares excites me so much for all the same reasons that Bitcoin got me excited back in the beginning. Bitcoin was this revolutionary thing, and it decentralized something so important that's core to our lives: decentralized currency. And currency is 50% of every transaction on the planet. Can't be overstated just how important it is. And to see BitShares come along, and in all of the other industries, what Bitcoin is to money, BitShares is to business. And it allows decentralized blockchain, decentralized businesses. It's very exciting. I can't wait to see this come to fruition. I selfishly steal some of your time every now and again to get an update and find out what's going on in the BitShares world. But really all I want to do is damn, stay in front of the computers, keep coding. So mate, with that, I think we might call this end to episode 1 of BitShares TV. Thank you very, very much. I hope you'll join us in future episodes.
Thank you very much. I have many more ideas and things to share with you in the future.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to picking your brain in the future. Guys, this is episode 1 of BitShares.tv. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please go ahead and subscribe. There's probably a box somewhere on this page to enter in your email address. I'll let you know when there are future updates, when there are future episodes. You can go ahead and subscribe on the YouTube channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys for the next episode. Take care.